All right, next up here we've got Iowa and Iowa State battle, the Cyhawk rivalry and the battle for the Cyhawk Trophy. These teams play each other every year, and here they are going at it once again. Iowa State. Iowa State Cyclones 3-point home favorites, and the total 41.5 here in this game. Obviously, look, Iowa State was a popular team to fade last week. I noticed among the public masses.
Right here.
Yeah.
Right here. Well, you know what? And I didn't play the other one. I thought both those games were to fade. And that one, the other one was North
Ireland
Dakota.
Iowa State and Kansas State. Yep.
Well, K-State, they almost lost. So, and I thought this was the even better one. I got hats off to Iowa State. They played really, really good.
They did. There was no hangover. There was no letdown whatsoever. Like I said, it was very, very impressive. They were solid against Kansas State. Although with Kansas State struggling with North Dakota, does it take some shine off that Iowa State victory? A little bit, at least, over Kansas State. But I can't say bad things right now about Rocco Becht. He's played well to begin the year. 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, 68% completions. The run game has been good. The defense has been pretty solid overall. They held South Dakota to barely 200 yards, and obviously they bottled up Avery Johnson and K-State in the opener against Ireland to a certain degree. Although that being said, Avery Johnson still threw for 273, and there were points left on the board by Kansas State. But still, Iowa State's been pretty solid. Meanwhile, Iowa, not a great performance against Albany, 34-7 last week. I certainly expected more from I thought Mark Gronowski may be the best quarterback they've had in quite some time, but it was a bit of a shaky debut for him. 8 for 15, 44 yards. Thankfully, they had a pretty good performance on the ground from Xavier Williams, 122 rushing yards. Perhaps they have found a good running back now in him to replace Goodson. But I think when you look at this situation here for Iowa, I expected a lot better, and I thought Gronowski would be solid. And defense, I thought pretty good game overall, very good. In fact, Iowa, the usual. But I don't know. I just that was kind of an underwhelming debut from a guy that I thought would be a huge step up from previous erratic, disappointing, mediocre quarterbacks that Iowa has had in the past. And boy, if they had a bunch of them. Really, I mean, Spencer Petras, and you go on down the list, they've just had a bunch of these just mediocre quarterbacks. And Gronowski with phenomenal success at the FCS level. But it's just one game. I think he's probably going to get more and more comfortable as time goes on. Very important to look at head-to-head series. Obviously, 5 of the last 6 have stayed under. This has been a very low-scoring series history. Just the last 3 years alone, 10-7, 20-13, 20-19. The final scores. Iowa is 7-2 straight up in the last 9 versus Iowa State, and the 2 Iowa State victories in the last 9 head-to-head meetings were a 3-point win at Iowa in 2022, and then the 1-point win at Iowa last year, 20-19 for Iowa State. So Iowa State has not beaten Iowa by more than a field goal in any of the last 10 meetings. And then there was a win way back in the September 2014, and Iowa State won that by 3. So all of the Iowa State wins, Iowa State has 3 wins against Iowa in the last 10 meetings, and all 3 were 3 points or less. This is +3. You take it or you leave it alone is what I do. And I think Gronowski, actually, I'm not burying him just yet. Was it a rough debut? Was it an uninspiring debut for him? Yes. But I still think there's ability there for him to be better than a lot of these previous Iowa quarterbacks. At +3, there's a very good chance I bet Iowa, as long as this stays at +3 or better. What do you think here, C-Mac? Iowa State.
Yeah, I think you have to look at this under here. We're back over 40 with these two. I mean, it seemed like the last few years it had dropped. I think it was 36.5 that low in this game. So I think it's going to be tight. Even though I've been impressed, I was on Iowa State. Game 1, I tried to fade them in a flat spot. They look good. The guy, though, I want with the ball, with the game on the line, is Rocco Becht, even dating back to last year. I just think he's one of the better guys that I want there. So if the game could be close, they could win it. It's just not at 3. So I just think, and one thing where Iowa State's looked better in their first 2 games, even against K-State over there, has been against the run. The team, I just, got all over them, how they looked awful, especially the second half. Last year, they looked pretty good in these first 2. So, but Iowa's got to run it. Got to run it. They're going to run it. They're going to milk this clock under.
Yeah, under. I can't argue with that, especially north of 40. And we have seen the last 3 years, it's stayed below. We haven't even hit 40 the last 3 meetings. 10-7, 2013, 2019. All of them.
By the way,
40. Yep.
That last year's game too, a couple big plays in the second half. I remember that game.
Yes.
A couple big 50-yard pass. It kind of broke out for maybe a 10-7 halftime. So
yeah. And it still stayed under.